Hello, here's my audience for my speech. Mr. Schmid. Let's skip Lisa because she's... There's Jason. Alright. Lisa again.
Hello.
Yes! That was so easy. Okay. Now me. It hasn't officially started yet. Just keep that in mind. There's a curtain. Okay. Hello. The $90 billion a year cocoa industry has been making some of its money with the use of 1.8 million children in West Africa who are vulnerable to being hurt by machetes and other dangers. And a lot of this, the cocoa industry is something we support with our money. A lot of the chocolate we buy comes from those people. And so I think we should be concerned. It's one example. I think we should be concerned of what our money supports. In the words of social responsibility scholar Ellis Jones, it follows that wherever large amounts of money collect, so also new centers of power form. We should be concerned about these centers of power and what they're doing with our money. We need our money to contribute to a better world and not a worse one. We should think about the total value of our goods, not just the immediate value it gives to ourselves, but all the impacts it has. But we don't see that in what we buy. As an American, I am surrounded by products. I always see advertising. We're bombarded by it, and I've been wondering for the last 10 years what the effects of the products I buy have, where they come from, and if there are alternatives, and if supporting anything can make a difference. And I've been trying to find alternatives, and I know it takes commitment, and I've decided that I don't think it has to be a burden, but if we all do a little bit, we can create some pressure that can make some changes. I've looked for some sources and articles and tried to find reputable people talking about this issue. So, basically we need to be aware of what we're buying. We need to find ways to put economic pressure on the companies we're buying from. And one way we can do this is to buy fair trade products, different certifications, products who are ranked higher ethically or in accordance with our values by different organizations that we trust. To reiterate the need, corporations don't match our values. According to a Gallup poll, 58% of Americans think that major corporations have too much power. From human rights and social justice issues to animal welfare and the environment, corporations affect our world with the profits we give them. According to the UN, of the 100 largest economies in the world, 51 are corporations, with 49 being countries. 51 are corporations, 49 are countries. Those are the largest economies in the world. Walmart, for example, makes $350 billion a year, just under Sweden's GDP. So, one example of the impacts of this is the social impact. Let's consider coffee, which is the second most traded commodity in the world next to oil. Most of the coffee growers are excluded from tapping into the huge potential. Coffee has a huge potential for profits, but the actual growers get very little of it. They earn under $2 a day on small plantations. CNN tells a story of Yoku, a cocoa farmer. Cocoa is another problem, as I mentioned earlier. And let me show you this slide here. Can you get that? That's a cocoa, well, that's not Yoko, excuse me, but a cocoa farmer in the Ivory Coast has scars on his legs because he can't clear grass in the fields without cutting himself. They have to use machetes for their work. And child slaves as young as 12 should probably get back to me.
Coming.
Child slaves as young as 12 on cocoa farms have been sold from their families who think the children will earn a decent wage and send some money home, but the sad reality is they don't. Another thing our purchases impact is the environment, and animals and fisheries. Coffee is also grown in one of the most vulnerable environments, and so pesticides and things that are used on coffee plantations really affect these vulnerable environments. And also areas are cut down to make room. In Central America, 2.5 million acres of forests were cut in order to plant coffee farms. National Geographic cited a study published in Science stating that by 2048, all the world's fisheries will have collapsed if fishing rates continue at the pace they are at. Also, we have factory farms which consume enormous amounts of energy, pollute the water, they emit greenhouse gases, and their dependence on grains has led to the destruction of large amounts of rainforests, which are cleared to grow the grains. In 2008, the Brazilian president took emergency steps to stop the burning of rainforest. Had to take emergency steps to stop the burning of rainforest land for grazing land. So we need to take some responsibility for this, I think, and at least be aware of what's going on. That's the first step to making change, and I think that there's a disconnect between us and what we're buying. In the market, the free market people blame us, and then we blame the corporations, and the way it is now is capitalism and a free market, and I think that we shouldn't wait for laws to be enacted to change everything. They tried to make some laws to change the cocoa industry, but the laws still haven't done enough, and I think that being aware of what we purchase is another way. Whether we do it through law or not, being aware is an important step. But we've talked about the need to pay attention and some of the exploitation and harm to the environment. But how can we evaluate some of these companies and see and do something a little further to help the problem? We can buy, for example, fair trade products and certified products, and doing this, just being aware of it and talking about it really sends a message. It gets the idea out and it helps change the culture. I think that's one of the biggest things that it will make a difference. People don't realize the impact we can have. But if you look at some of the changes going on in the world through social media, they suggest that once an idea can get going, it can really take off. David Kirkpatrick, writing for Forbes, suggests that with the use of Facebook and social media, which have been used to foment insurrection around the world, a new dynamic such as viral consensus could develop. Combining consumer awareness with social media and watching companies and purchasing accordingly can help the ideas spread. So let me give you some examples with what purchasing fair trade has done. There's a story of Gerardo Arias Camacho, who was able to keep his small coffee farm alive, he believes, due to fair trade. His oldest son is in college, and his children now have other options besides becoming coffee farmers. His farms have also become more environmentally friendly as a result of the fair trade initiative. And he tells us that his farm, through the greater income fair trade has given it, was able to help the community by fixing a broken bridge from a hurricane. And another example, a cotton farmer named Makandianfing has, through fair trade, had more sustainable cotton growing. It's resulted in better living and better health. Her community was able to build a school. Pregnant women there have now had access to health care. and they had empty pesticide cases that people had been drinking from, and people died from them. But after the fair trade came, they audited these things, and they learned how to dispose of their waste properly. Let me just show you another picture. Here's the fair trade. You can see that symbol on some products. That's one certification that's trying to make a difference. There are different things, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute here. Okay. And one other person, Julia Ithanga, who has seen benefits from her fair trade tea, says the whole value chain needs to be made fairer to help lift Africa out of poverty, rather than just having poverty or Africa receive aid. So fair trade really helps, the adage, teach someone to fish and not just give them a fish. Speaking of fish, there are also different foods we can buy. There's grass-fed beef, and there's more sustainable fish we can buy, even if we don't just look for certifications. It's part of being aware and making choices that will affect us all. So imagine if conditions remain the same, the depleted fish stocks will have continued oppression of workers. Value will continue to be thought merely in terms of utility and price, and wider effects in the world won't be accounted for, will remain disconnected from the goods and the people making those goods and all the impacts they have. Companies will continue to think that consumers and people just don't care about environmental costs of things. But imagine how we will be after, if the community really gets started, if massive amounts of people get involved and make changes, and awaken to the power we have collectively through the market. Imagine a headline that tells about how conscious consumerism went viral. Imagine seeing thriving communities as a result of them having the true value of their work be paid for. Imagine a changed culture that has that raised awareness. So let me show you one last picture. There's the community that has changed and has been helped. Just the happy faces of people's lives who we can change, help change. We can be like those people. So, do we want to continue exploitation and destruction, and have a consumer population disconnected from the goods they purchase, or a future where our society is tuned in to how the means to our lives affect our livelihood? And finally, some examples of things we can do. There's this great book, Better World Shopper Guide. There's a lot of different options out there. I think, as I said, just paying attention and getting started is the first step. Everything from cereal to office supplies, seafood is in this book based on all sorts of ratings and information this individual has gathered, who I quoted earlier, Ellis Jones. It's called the Better World Shopper Guide. He also talks about changing your bank and your credit card, some of the biggest things that you can change. There's other things like the Redirect Guide, which is free here in Colorado. There's Co-op America, you can go to online. They rate companies, talk about the differences and the effects that different industries have, and better purchases you can make. So pay attention and educate yourself, spread the word for positive change. People are exploited in trying to bring our goods to us, and the environment is affected, but some companies are trying to do better, and we can give them a chance by supporting fair trade products and just being aware of creating a market. It's really about creating a market for better products and spreading the idea to get people talking about it. So thank you. Go have some fair trade chocolate now and enjoy your day.
Woo!
I need some applause. Because wasn't that the awesomest speech ever? Turn it off because I have to
Make sure.
to show my audience again. There's Schmid. He is still here. And you already seen those. Oh, Lisa's coughing. Let's go to Jason. That speech was so awesome. She just...
Mind blown.
Hold on. Are you okay?
Gosh. I'm sorry.
You're the star right now. Are you ready?
I was holding that cough for a long time.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, no worry.
There's Lisa. Can wave or something? Okay. Thank you so much. Oh, man. One more person has to suffer through a very long speech I've made.
Oh, that's no big deal.
Thank you, whoever had to watch this in my class.